I'm Kathleen. Here's our fraction chart. What we want the children to do is to take it apart and put it back together again like a puzzle so that they can see the relationship of the numbers and the fractions and how they all go together. So then when we start to ask how many fourths are in a whole, you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So that again, we can see how they're all linked together, because again, like I said, if you don't understand that 4 fourths make a whole, everything is going to be complete chaos after this. So we want the children to understand the relationship. 4 fourths make a whole. How many sixths make a whole? And our answer would be 6. So here I've got my partial chart here. So what I'm going to do with this partial chart is I've just got my ones, halves, fourths, and eighths. And I'm going to erase my horizontal lines and get rid of my little green numbers. And what does this look like? A ruler. And there are so many people that are amazed that the fraction chart like this is linked to a ruler, has the same look as a ruler. So what we're going to do is we're going to play a game, the war game. So we're going to practice comparing our ones, halves, fourths, and eighths in preparation for reading a ruler. And because it's a war game, we want to capture all the cards. So here I have my partial chart. And I've got my deck and your deck. And the easy way with the decks is you can, dish them out back and forth, or you can just divide it in half and go from that point. So this is my deck, this is your deck. So I laid out a 1/8, you laid out a 1/4. Whose is more? Now some of you are going to say 1/4, but there's some people who might say 1/8, because 8's bigger than 4. Well, let's go look at our chart. I have 1/8, you have 1/4. Oh, yeah, yours is bigger. Okay, so you take that one. Good job. All right, we lay out another one. 5/8 and 3/4. I have 5/8. You have 3/4. Ah, you took it again. Now, before I go any farther, I want to tell you a real quick story about my son. He and I were playing this game. I believe he was about a 4th grader at the time, and we were playing this particular game. And as you can see here, all we're doing is comparing who has more. But my Matthew, I bet we were maybe 15 minutes into the first time playing this game, and it was laid out something like this, 5/8 and 3/4. He said, "Mama, I beat you by an 1/8. I have to confess, I actually had to grab the chart and look at it myself. Oh, yes, you did beat me by an 1/8. But he was already adding and subtracting just by looking at the chart. So this kind of becomes an informal way to start doing that comparison, which of course is adding and subtracting. Now we got a war now, 3/4 and 3/4. Lay down another card, and then we decide who wins. In this case, it's me. I get to take them. And the game keeps going. If you get really good at it, or you want to start to add in some a little bit more challenge, do an advanced fraction war and use all the cards. So then you might have something like 2/3 and 7/10. And again, you can use that chart to see that, oh yeah, 7/10 would be just a little bit bigger. So we're comparing, we're getting familiar, we're knowing the numbers, we're feeling good with it. The next thing we want to do before we start to work in with actually looking at addition, because there's a lot of groundwork that needs to be laid before we get into addition, is we need to look at equivalent fractions. What are the same? So how many fourths equal a half? How many fourths equal a half? It'd be 2/4. How many eighths equal a half? That'd be 4/8. How many sevenths equal a half? Now, there's some of you going, I'm sorry, you can't do that. Well, actually, yes, you can. It'd be 3 1/2 sevenths. Now, we normally don't say 3 1/2 sevenths. but you can. It's right there. You can see it. This chart helps us see that equivalent fractions. Now we can flip that around and start to go with simplifying fractions. So if I have 5/10, what is it the same as? 1/2. How about 4/8 is the same as 1/2. 3/6, same as 1/2. 2/4, same as 1/2. They're all the same. And again, I can have one version, 5/10, and I can simplify it to 1/2. Now, I can take this concept and come over here. This is a multiplication chart. So here I've got 7 times 5 is 35. I've got 9 times 8 is 72. This is just your standard multiplication chart. But I can actually use this to help me simplify fractions. So here I've got 5/10. 5/10, I can simplify it to 1/2. Look at that. And as we saw before on the fraction chart, it's the same thing as 2/4, 3/6, 4/8. Oh my goodness. Let's take this idea and expand it. What if I have 21/28? How can I simplify that? Does anyone see 21/28? They need to be in the same column. They don't have to be touching, but they have to be in the same column. So here's 21/28 simplifies to 3/4. Let's do another one. Let's do 45/72. Remember, they need to be in the same column, but they don't have to touch. 45/72 simplifies down to 5/8. Now, why does this work? It's because I'm taking 45 and 72, I'm dividing them by 9. They're both divisible by 9. So 45 divided by 9 is 5. 72 divided by 9 is 8. That's why this works. Now, let's do this. Let's take 12/16. I happen to find it right here. I can simplify it to 6/8. But oh, look, here's 6/8 again into 3/4. So it doesn't really matter what I use or where I find it, it will work. I can simplify it down. Now, I could have found the 12/16 here, but I didn't, but it still worked. Now, let's take this 12/16 and take it a little bit more traditional. Here I have 16 little rectangles. 12 of them are shaded dark, so I've got 12/16. And what we want to do to simplify this is I want to put them in groups of 4. So I want 4 in a group here. So I'm going to circle them and put them in groups of 4. Now, how did I pick 4? Well, I could have done 2. 3 isn't going to work because I'm not going to be able to get 3 over here. So 4 to me is the logical one, and it does work. And now I end up with 4 groups altogether. 3 are shaded dark, so I have 3/4, which is the same thing that we had back on the multiplication chart. This is simplifying fractions, which of course is the reverse of finding, the word just escaped me, but taking 3/4 and bringing it up to 12/16. All right, now let's go look at adding fractions. So I've got my fraction chart. We're going to start out with the super easy ones. Let's do 2/5 plus 1/5. Well, obviously the answer is 3/5. It's right there. This isn't that exciting. You can see it when you've got something in front of you. There's no rules. I don't have to tell the child, will you add the top numbers, you leave the bottom numbers. No, I can just see right there. I've got 2 1/5, so I've got 2/5, and I add in one more, and my answer is 3/5. Let's do another one. 5/9 plus 2/9. 5/9 plus 2 more 9s right there. And how many do I have altogether? I have 7/9. Oh, that's super easy. All right, let's do this one. 1/4 plus 1/8. Oh, well, let's do this. Let's move that eighth over right there. And I'm going to bring that 1/4 down because I can make it equivalent. 1/4 is the same thing as 2/8. And now my answer is 3/8. You see how with using the chart, you don't have to have the rules. You just kind of intuitively figure it out. Well, we're going to get to a point, obviously, where we need to work with the lowest common multiples and then all that kind of different stuff. But this right here builds that understanding as to why the other things work. So I've got my 3/8. Let me do another one here. 1/2 plus 1/3. Here's my 1/2 plus 1/3. Okay, this is going to be a little bit trickier. So let's start out by taking that 1/2. Well, I could go with the fourths with 2/4, but that's not going to work still with my 1/3. So let's keep going down. It's also the same thing as 3/6. I think 3/6 is going to work. So let's hang on to this one. Let's go look at my 1/3. 1/3 is the same thing as or equivalent to 2/6. Oh yeah, this is going to work. We're both in the sixth now. So now I can say 2/6 plus 3/6 is 5/6. And there's my answer. Once this is understood, then the algorithm starts to make sense. So we start with the practical, hands-on application and exploration, and from there we build the reason, the method, the algorithm to figuring out how to add them. So we need to use this fraction chart, this linear view of the fraction chart, because it allows the children to explore the whole picture and the relationships within the whole using a linear perspective. The Right Start Math program has fractions in it. We teach the fractions all the way through from level A to E, but there's more focus on levels D and E. The Right Start program has received the first place award in the 2014 Practical Homeschooling Reader Award and the 2015 Reader Award. Now, we also have a carve-out that is called Right Start Fractions, and this takes about 70% of this book comes from the Right Start program. About 30% of it is new material. And this will go through and teach you from the very beginning what is a fraction all the way to multiplying and dividing fractions. This is also available in a kit. So you've got your lessons, your worksheets, the chart, and the card games to practice the games so we can practice what we've learned. Math needs to be taught so 95% is understood and only 5% memorized. And Dr. Cotter says our goal as teachers of mathematics is to help our children transform, expand, and refine these beginning ideas into deeper mathematical thinking. Have any questions? You can shoot us an email at info@rightstartmath.com, or you can also call us at 888-272-3291.